self-preservation is not the mission. Your self-preservation is a method that you use as a vehicle. God, help me to say it. Self-preservation is a vehicle, but it is not the destination. So I practice preserving myself because I know that God has work for me to do. But I don't make my mission protecting myself, because if I make my mission protecting myself, then I will miss out on the very reason that I was created. And so I have to learn to balance the reality that I do need to preserve myself, and I do need to move with wisdom, and I do need to have boundaries, but I also need to know when none of that matters, because it's time for me to step into something that requires vulnerability. It's time for me to step into something that I've never seen before, and I can't do it and be comfortable at the same time. So self, get ready to get uncomfortable, because we're moving into mission mode. You got to know the difference between preservation mode and mission mode. And I felt like God told me that there were just one or two people in this room who were about to move from preservation mode and into mission mode, that they did what they had to do to preserve themselves. They did what they had to do to preserve their peace. They did what they had to do to preserve their mind, but they've been in preservation mode for so long that they feel like God is trying to move them somewhere, but they don't know how to let them go. And I'm telling you, the only way that you move into mission mode is when you say, God, I've got enough of me. Now I'm ready for you. God, I recognize that there's still something left, but I don't want to be down to crumbs anymore. I want to know what you can do with leftovers. If you don't believe that you serve a God who can do something with leftovers, baby, you in the right church, because the potter's house is all about broken leftovers that the potter knew how to put back together. If I had about 5 saints in this place, we would take a minute and tear the roof off this place, because we know that we serve a God of leftovers. You're looking at me in overflow, but you didn't know that overflow started with leftovers. You're jealous of what God is doing now, but if you could have seen the overdraft, if you could have seen when I lost my mind, if you could have seen when I wanted to get out of here, if you could have seen when I thought I had no worth, you're celebrating now. But baby, when I tell you that now couldn't have happened unless then. You can protect the leftovers, or you can offer the leftovers as a sacrifice. Moses had to be willing to take what was left over, even though he didn't think it was enough. Even though he wasn't sure that it could be powerful, God says, I want what you have left over, because what you have left over is enough for me to transform not just your world, not just you, but the world. Bishop was talking and he said that there were some world changers in the church. See, sometimes we don't want to set ourselves up for failure by saying things like, I'm a world changer, because you think you're insignificant in the overall plot and plan of the world. But if you knew how connected your world was to everything else God wants to do in the world, you would recognize that you don't have to have an international platform to be a world changer. All you have to do is have a mission that says something in my world is going to change, because I've gone through hell and back, and I'm not going to leave hell waiting here for my children. Something's got to change. I'm going to change the way we communicate. I'm going to change the way we see love. I'm going to change the way we build businesses. I'm going to change the way we engage with one another. I'm going to change the way we worship. I'm going to raise up a new standard. I don't know about what happened before me, but one thing I know is when God says my time is up, I'm going to leave a new standard so that everyone who's connected to me can come up a little higher. That's all I want to do. If breaking a chain means you came up a little higher, that's all that matters to me. I may not be the first millionaire, I may not be the first billionaire, but I'm going to leave a rope, because I'm going to be the first thousandaire. I'm going to be the first hundredaire. I'm going to kick something off in my family that ain't never been kicked off again. I'm going to kick something off off of my generation that has never been kicked off before, because my Creator created me to create something different. I am not created to do what has already been done. I'm created to break something. I'm created to change something. I'm created to establish something. I'm created to take some territory. I'm on a mission. The mission requires that I come out of this trance that makes me keep talking myself out of the very thing that I'm called to. I gotta come out of the trance where I feel like protecting me is the ultimate goal, because if I am protecting me, I am telling God that I don't trust you to protect me. I know you called me to it, but I don't trust you to protect me in it. It takes a certain kind of vulnerability to say, I'm going to go even if I feel uncovered, because I recognize that the call came with protection. The call came with protection. Called me to this marriage, called me to this business. But what if I fail? What if they break my heart? If I called you to it, I'm gonna protect you through it. So what if they break your heart? I know how to put it together. So what if you fail? I know how to pick up the broken pieces. So what if it doesn't work out? I know how to make all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according. Jesus masters the ability to go from preservation mode to mission mode. He knew, if you follow in the Gospels, his ministry, there were moments where he would perform a miracle and tell a leper, don't tell anyone, because right now I still have to preserve myself. He would perform ministry and move to the next town immediately, because I gotta preserve myself. But when we see Jesus in the garden, he's moving from preservation mode into mission mode. So when he's in the garden, we hear him say, if it be your will, if you could pass this cup from me. He's been in preservation mode so long that when it's time to move into mission mode, he's got to see God. Because I got to let myself go so that you can perform the work that you want to do through me. And God, I can't let myself go unless you teach me how to unclench my plans and unclench my ways and unclench the way I thought it should be and unclench the love that I have for the very thing that's hurting me and unclench the grasp that I have on what I thought my future should look like. I got to move out of self-preservation mode, and I'm afraid and I'm scared, but nevertheless, not my will be done. We see him in the garden, and he's praying until blood and sweat falls from his head. Because the hardest thing you will ever have to do is let you go. But restoration depended on Jesus coming to this moment. I don't know who you are in this room, but you're hungry for restoration. Not the kind of restoration that you get because you want to go back in time. Oh, help me, God. Let me say it the way God gave it to me. Jesus is so committed to God's mission in the earth that he has to be willing to let himself go. So what is God's mission in the earth? God's mission in the earth is to reconnect creation with Creator. Yeah, that's all right. We're going somewhere. So when God creates man and woman in the garden, he has connection with man and woman. We don't have to wonder where God is. He's just a cry away. We don't have to wonder if his hand is on us. We don't have to wonder if he's going to provide, because we were already connected in the garden. And so when Adam and Eve eat from the fruit in Genesis 3, there is separation that is created. So God is on a mission to reconnect with his creation, so that his creation can understand the fullness of what they received when they were created. Because what happened in the garden skewed our perspective and our perception on who we are in the earth. We don't trust ourselves. We don't trust our creativity. We don't trust that we can say no. We doubt ourselves. We worry. We're in depression. We have shame and addiction because of what happened in the garden. But God says, regardless of what happened in the garden, if I could just connect with them again, I could still bring them to a place of restoration. You want God to restore what you lost. God says, I want to restore what you never even knew you had. I want to restore the confidence you had never even knew you had. You have gifts and talents that you never even knew existed. But because there was separation, you don't even know everything I put in you. But I hear God saying, it's still in you to win. It's still in you to create. It's still in you to have dominion. It's still in you to subdue. It's still in you to tread on serpents. It's still in you to walk through hell and not get burned. It's still in you to talk through a serpent and not lose your head. It's still in you. Jesus tells his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever will save his life will lose it. And whosoever will lose it for my sake. So you better stop losing your life for everybody else's sake. I know it's cute to people please. I know it's cute to be everything to everybody. But it's not just about losing your life. It's about losing your life for his sake. It's a lot of life draining happening in this world. A lot of life draining happening in these relationships. A lot of life draining is taking place. And God says, I'm nowhere in that. You keep asking me to get in it, but I was never in it. I'm asking you to start losing your life for my sake, because I can guarantee if you lose it for my sake, I can restore it. I hear God saying, stop asking the very person who robbed you to also restore you. If you would trust me with your life, I can give you more than you gave me. That's why I give my offering. That's why I sow my seed, because there's nothing I can give to the kingdom that could even compare to what he'll give to me. Takes a bold move to say, I'm going to deny myself. I'm going to deny those insecurities. I'm going to deny that fear of failure. I'm going to deny that voice that says I'm too old. I'm going to deny that voice that says I'm too young. I'm going to deny that voice that says I failed too many times. I'm going to deny myself and say, God, if this is where you're sending me, if this is where you need me, I'm going to have to take my cross with me, because I got some things to kill along the way, but I'm going. Isn't it amazing that Jesus says you got to take that cross and get on the cross right now? You just got to be willing to take a cross with you, because when you get to where I'm calling you, there is a version of you that may have to die in order so that the real version of you can live. So don't let God open a door for you that you don't take your cross with you into, because when you cross that threshold, every trick, plan, and plot of the enemy is going to haunt you and taunt you. But that's okay, because I got my cross with me. And because he defeated death on the cross, it doesn't matter what the enemy says. I got a cross with me that reminds me that resurrecting power is mine, that the joy of the Lord is going to be my salvation. I got evidence. God's got a mission. God's got a mission for this generation. He's got a mission for your family. God's got a mission in the earth. And the mission requires your participation, not your preservation. Jesus, on the cross at 33, it wasn't about preservation. It was about full participation. Israel keeps getting stuck between preservation and restoration. If you read the Old Testament and into the New Testament, you'll see that Israel makes a commitment that they're going to follow God because God came through. So no matter where you take me, I'm going to follow you. And do you know, they were not out of Egypt for very long before self-preservation kicked back in. And they start wanting to go back to the very place where they were enslaved, because they'd rather have a master they know than a master who requires the unknown. That's the tricky thing about self-preservation, is sometimes you will settle for a lesser master because you know it, than to dare to trust the master in the unknown. And this is Israel's problem. This is the problem with the Pharisees and the Sadducees. They are committed to preservation, so they miss when God is creating moments for restoration. See, I think in order to fully understand this, we have to let go of the idea that restoration is when God gives me back what I lost. Restoration is when God takes you back and gives you what generations lost. When God gives you what they lost hundreds and hundreds of years ago. When my father is building these communities, I know him well enough to know that he's not even thinking about a house that he lost. He's thinking about a house his ancestors were never even allowed to buy. Because restoration is not just about getting back what the enemy stole from you. I'm going to give you what he stole from your grandmother. I'm going to give you what he stole from your great, oh, woo, 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 woo. I'm sorry, that did something in my spirit, because I got generational brokenness and generational loss, and my mother and grandmother had to say goodbye before they could see that they've never seen the righteous forsaken. I believe that somebody's looking from heaven, and while you think you got a long way to go, they're thanking God that you went further than they ever thought possible. God gave you what I lost. God bless my great, 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 great grandchildren with everything the enemy stole from me. Whew. I'm sorry, I feel a wind coming. I'm sorry, I feel like the gates of hell are about to be opened. And that there's going to be one or two of us who leave this place more determined than we were before to go into the enemy's camp. I'm sorry, y'all know I am a little bit of a church girl, but when I was growing up, they used to sing a song about going into the enemy's camp and taking back what he stole from me. You can't do that and worry about yourself. Baby, I'm worried about my stuff. I'm worried about my blessings. I'm worried about my peace. Hell, if you got my peace, you gonna have to give it back to me. And I'm not gonna wait for you to hand it over. I'm gonna roll up my sleeves and run up on the devil that's been running up on me. Yeah. You stole it, but you can't keep it. You stole it, but you can't have it. The divorce tried to break it, but you can't have me. You planted seeds, and you thought the enemy snatched them. But God says, I keep perfect records. I know everything you planted. I know what your daddy planted. I know what your grandmother planted. No wonder we're surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, because I want to witness the moment you come into yourself and remind hell that you slayed me, but I stayed in position because I trust that the slaying is working for my good. Yeah, just like that, just like that, just like that. A bold move to go into the enemy's camp, just like that, just like that. I hear God saying that it's time for you to get bold again. I hear God saying that the wicked hides when no one is chasing, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. If I could just hear somebody roar. Did you hear the demons tremble? Did you hear hell get nervous? Somebody's roaring in a way they ain't roared in a long time.